Hey there, welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits. Coming to you here from the Recycle Garage in sunny Santa Cruz, California. Hey everyone, how are you doing? This is Liza, and joining me in the virtual room tonight. You know, it still sucks that we haven't been able to get together in the same room to do a podcast. We're able to do it over Zoom, but you know what it does allow us to do? It allows us to bring in other people. And I have a bunch of people in the waiting room to join us. But let's get to the misfits that are here. Of course, it's everybody's favorite. It's Miss Emma.
Oh, hello, darling. Make tea, not war. That's what I say.
Splendid.
Cheerio! Say.
Oh yes. Make Darjeeling. No, it's lovely to be here. Had a lovely ride on the Moto Guzzi today. It was absolutely first class. You know, California in the fall, wonderful. Lucky old us.
And I'm guessing that it was running better on the ride home than it did on the ride here.
Well, once I figured out that the spark plugs that were in it had done 100,000 miles in my Jag. And then
what?
Well, no, because when I built the Guzzi, I want to fire it up. And I just grabbed some spark plugs off the bench, which had been in my Jag for 100,000 miles, and they were completely the wrong heat range. And I threw them in the bike, and that was 4 years ago. And I forgot about that. And the one finally failed and said, I've had enough of this. And so, in true Emma tradition, because I can be quite cheap, I ferreted around in Liza's drawers, and I found two ancient B80Ss that look like they've been run in a lawnmower or something.
Yeah, were better than what you had.
Yeah, they were better than the ones I had, so I put them in. And the Guzzi's running back like a freight train again. Toot toot! It's nice. It's a woman's right to choo-choos.
I saw that bike. I'm standing outside my house, and someone in a Mexican poncho was riding down the street on it. Is that Gary?
Yes.
I was like, there's a guy with a Mexican poncho on this metal flake green Gucci thing.
Well, no, I mean, he arrived, and I could see the look in his eye. You know, it's the look of just pure lust. And I said, do you want to ride it? And his eyes got really big. And he said, oh, can I? I said, yeah, go and take it out. So I think he had a jolly good time on it.
Also with us tonight, it's Naked Jim.
Hey, life's good. Take a deep breath out, smile.
Yeah, you got a little ride today.
Yeah.
We'll get the report. Sounds like your bike is taking a hell of a beating.
Yeah, buy Honda. If you're the worse rider you are, the more durable bike you need. That's what I'm learning.
Good point. And coming to us from his lovely garage up in Oregon, it's Bagel.
Greetings from the very wet and cold Oregon.
You're learning that so fast,
yes.
Are you?
Yes, it is not exactly riding season up here right now, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well, it'll stop in about 6 months. Don't worry.
Yeah, eventually. Maybe.
Guys, I didn't have anything really prepared tonight. I got a couple things we can chew the fat on, but I thought, wouldn't it be great just to have some listeners join us? And I put out the word, and we've got some who are going to join us. I'm going to start bringing them in. Let's see how they have no idea what's going on.
Listener roulette.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope it's not that pervy revolver thing or whatever it is. What's that you watch, Emma?
What thing I watch?
Sorry.
Oh, here they come. All right. Here's the first up. Looks like it's going to be Peter joining us.
Hi there.
Hey, Peter, how are you?
I'm well. Yourself?
Good. You got video to turn on?
I do.
Everyone's so scared to turn on the video. There you
Look,
are.
Hey.
That's nice office, Peter.
Oh, yeah, I'm living the life.
You are indeed. Look at that.
And
Sweet.
Peter, whereabouts in the world are you?
So I'm in the Midwest, between Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin.
Ooh, so you're
All
hunkering
right.
down for the winter, I take
Got
it.
it.
It's cold. It
You
got
deal
cold.
with the
Yes.
lake effect, right?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
You gotta deal with its cold as fuck effect. I think that's what they call it officially.
I guess that's more honest.
Well, thank you for joining us.
I'm so
Yeah.
happy to be here. I'm honored.
Welcome.
And there's two things I'm very, very interested right now. The first is an aluminium propeller you've got propped up against your wall there.
Yeah,
Is that a propeller? What is that?
it is. It's a propeller from, I don't know, an airplane of some sort. I have built a couple of airplanes.
No, I'm going to guess an airplane.
Well, no, it could be from an airboat before you get
Oh, that's-
excited.
It
Um,
came from an auction.
But I'm not sure about airboats. And the second thing, there appears to be a design studio behind you. And are you designing high heels on that? Or is it?
Yeah, isn't that great? That's my daughter's calendar.
Oh, that's
Oh,
fantastic.
wow.
Because
So,
yeah, I mean, I have a terrible shoe fetish. So as well as motorbikes, I have a collection of about 1,000 shoes, all
Yeah.
with some kind of heel on them.
So I'm up here in the attic of an old Victorian house.
Nice.
Yes, we have
So
one
I
of
live
those.
and work here. The COVID hasn't affected me too much.
Okay.
Nice.
That's good.
It's a great space. Thank you for joining us.
Well, also we've got joining us is Big Ben. Hey Ben, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. And where in
Oh my God, look at the size of him.
He's got a big voice too.
He's a big, big man.
We're gonna
Hello,
call him
Ben.
Big Ben the Boomer.
See, I like
Sorry
you
if I'm
put in the
loud.
name,
I apologize.
So you're not
No, no.
surprised.
Not at all, Ben. You've got what one would call, you've got a robust voice, a very robust voice.
My wife would say it's an annoying voice, but we'll go with robust.
And Ben, where
Robustly annoying.
where in the world are you?
I am just down the road from you in Bakersfield.
Oh,
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I was
so-
just through Bakersfield.
I know it.
Beautiful city, but
You'd be lying.
but I bet Bakersfield moves America. I'll say that.
I don't know. It's just a place where I fell off the wagon.
I
Good
tried. I was trying. You know what I'm saying?
You don't have to make it sweet for me. I've been married to the same woman for 33 years. There's nothing you're going to say that's going to hurt my feelings.
Man.
and then hey you guys, look who's joined us. It's my friend Chris. How you doing, Chris?
No more was yourself.
Hey.
Good. And can
Hey,
you remind
Chris.
everyone where
Welcome
you
back.
are?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What was that?
Can you remind everyone where you are?
I am just outside of Philadelphia, PA, in a town called Willow Grove.
There you go.
Oh,
We
yeah.
are spread out
Right
all
by-
over.
City of
looks
brotherly
like-
love.
5 of us are still riding and 2 probably aren't. That's
And
my
that's-
guess.
And that's
We're
where
riding comfortably.
That's where Willow Grove Raceway is, isn't it?
No,
No.
never heard of that.
Oh. Okay. Must
You
be
may
thinking
have to
of
go look for it then.
Hmm.
So Emma, let's start with Peter. I know he's got some bikes in his garage you'd be interested in.
Yes,
So I-
come along, Peter. Come along. I want to hear about these bikes.
So Emma, I've got, so I'm restoring a Triumph Spitfire right now, which is not a bike, but it's a British car. I figured.
No, I know. What year is your Spitfire, darling?
So it's a mid 70s and it's dramatically customized. I've cut the suspension off the chassis,
Right.
raised it a couple inches, consequently lowering the car. I nested a Mazda Miata engine in it.
Oh, that's a good upgrade. And
Yeah,
I
and a
will.
6-speed, it should be wonderful.
I will tell you something about your car which you may or may not know. It was the last production British car with a chassis.
That makes sense.
And it's quite a peculiar chassis because it's quite an interesting thing. A Spitfire chassis is like a double-ended Y. So if you take the letter Y and then turn another Y upside down and join it on at the foot, that's exactly what a Spitfire chassis looks like.
Yeah, the wishbone chassis.
The wishbone front and rear, but it was the last production British car sold with a chassis. They're wonderful little cars, and with a Miata in it. You can wake them up. Now, I believe the Moss Motoring here in California used to sell a supercharger kit for that Miata engine, which would wake it up even more.
Right, which would be a thing. I have overbuilt enough hot rods. You know, you build them to the point that they're no good anymore.
Well, hey.
Hey, wait a minute. This is not the Cleveland Moto podcast. Let's keep it to motorcycles. Come on, because
So-
I know you got some good stuff there.
Yes. So Emma, I have a Norton Commando.
Okay, very nice. What year's
I
your Commando?
customized- Yeah. I customized it a couple of years ago, and it's wonderful. I had years ago, I was fortunate enough to have an E-Type Jaguar, and I felt so special driving that thing around and so pretentious. The pretentious part made me sell it. But the Norton feels just the same way, only without the pretension. It is a magical motorcycle.
Well, you know, the thing about all British vehicles, once you get away from the very entry level ones, and make no mistake, you know, the Austins and the Morrises and the Spitfires are special little cars in their own way. But once you get into the higher end stuff, like an E-Type Jag, like a Norton Commando, like, you know, a Royal Enfield. Oh, that's a lovely thing. That looks like a Colorado Norton Works bike. Once you get into the higher end stuff, you're basically driving a hand-built vehicle, and they're very, very special.
Is that
Well,
a Corbin seat on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, that looks good.
It
Yeah,
changes the look of the bike dramatically.
Yeah.
I built things myself for the most part, and the Corbin seat was a luxury that was pretty wonderful. Just to spend a little dough and open a box and have something that amazing come out.
Yeah, and again, it's completely hand built. We're very, very good friends with Mike Corbin, and very good friends with San Francisco, who's his chief builder. And it's really those Corbin seats, they're absolutely handmade and made by craftsmen and women. You know, from Francisco, who does the skinning of them, right down to the girls who hand lay the fiberglass and actually run the patterns on the machines. It's a wonderful operation he's got there.
You know what you notice about when you go into the factory and you walk through there, like Michael lets you, and you see all these years of service awards on the wall? And I don't think there's anyone who hasn't worked there for 20 years. Probably the average length of service is 25, 30 years at that place. And
Oh,
you
I
think
would have
how
thought,
many-
yeah.
How many seats, you know, they have shaped over the years? It's amazing.
Well, and Emma, you think that's cool. Guess what his bike of choice was for the 2018 AMA Vintage Days, which, if you remember, was the muddy. It was so muddy.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Guess what his bike
Aye.
of choice was for that?
Bike of choice. Come on, Peter.
Water buffalo.
Oh, good man.
So I had spent the winter prior restoring a water buffalo I bought out of a field, and it
you took
came
that
out
to AMA
great. It
Vintage
was a
Days.
remarkable story.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Oh, no.
so my wife and I ended up, we took the water buffalo down to Vintage Days. We had not been to Vintage Days prior, and it turned into our pit bike in that mud. And it was crazy. I thought I was going to go down and show it off, and instead we just rode it through the mud all weekend.
Oh, that mud was horrible.
It was ruinous, but it was fun. It was.
But
But
super
you-
fun.
But you know, the thing is about buffaloes, for what it is, for long distance touring work, it's still hard to beat even now, because they're very smooth. A 3-cylinder engine's inherently smooth anyway, but of course it's rubber mounted. they're very, very low revving. If you've been brought up on a diet of Japanese across the frame 4s, not so much with Commandos and Bonnevilles, but a stock geared Commando is quite a high revving thing. The Water Buffalo, at freeway speeds, is just burbling along. It's a wonderful place to be. And they're big and rangy, and they've got a big seat. It's just a nice place to be to go touring.
Well, I think he learned his lesson because he's built another bike for the next vintage days. Emma, you want to take a guess what that is? Look at those nice knobbies. What do you think that is?
Well, let me see. I'm trying to recognize that cylinder.
Right.
Wait a minute. Is that a T500 Cobra?
It's a Bridgestone.
You know what?
How cool is that?
It was an old black street bike Bridgestone, a Bridgestone 90.
Oh, that's why I didn't recognize it, because I thought Bridgestone, but the reason I didn't go there, I was absolutely certain all Bridgestones were had their carbs on the crankcase, and I didn't see that on yours.
Right. Yeah, it does. It's over on the side.
It's over on the other side.
Yeah.
Amazing looking thing. I love the flake orange. Very similar color to my old Buffalo.
You're going to be very easy to find next year at Vintage Days. I'll be looking for you.
Oh, we'll all be looking for you.
It'll be caked in mud, just like the Water Buffalo was.
I was going to say, I can't believe we didn't see you on the Water Buffalo, for gosh sake.
Hey, so I don't have an agenda, but I have a story I'd like to share.
Before you do,
okay,
I would like to introduce, we have one more stunt misfit who's joined us. We got Mike with us. How you doing, Mike?
Hey guys, how's it going?
You look like you're in like a photography studio. Look at that camera set.
With COVID and everything, my wife is a professor. And so this is her studio. And in another life, I was a photographer.
There it is.
Photography, so.
Mike, I'll tell you what that shot looks like. There was a genre of photography going round. It's kind of lost favor a little bit now. And I can't remember whether it was called forced perspective, but it actually made realistic things look like they were models.
I thought you were going to say glamour shots.
No, and it was exactly that, where you bring an object into very, very high focus with a very soft focus on the back. I'm pretty sure that it was called forced perspective photography, and I thought it was great. It looks very good there.
Yeah, it's just a really defined lens. That's all it is. It's the lens and the lighting in the room.
And Mike, where are you calling in from?
I'm from right outside Nashville, Tennessee.
Right on. I love Nashville, Tennessee.
So
barbecue.
A little bit barbecue, a little bit of riding, that kind of thing. So yeah, we got a little bit down here.
Yeah, great riding out there. The woods and on the streets.
I have got to say that going down the line, I can't remember when we had more handsome guests across the board. They're all very good looking, aren't they, Liza?
And I have to say that they're how do you say they're trimmed very well? What do you say?
They're extremely well groomed.
They look a lot smarter than we do. We can't do this anymore. Like they look really smart.
Looks can be deceiving.
So Peter, your story, let's hear it.
So I have the motorcycle that is similar to the story of the lost Corvette you might find in a garage. I have a Kawasaki Triple.
Okay.
It's only the KH 400, so it's not the most coveted of them. But I got it. Follow this. I bought it off of Craigslist from a guy who bought it from a friend.
My guy.
Who found it buried in the dining room of the flipper house he had just bought at an estate sale.
Nice.
Wow.
So the guy buys a flipper house from a hoarder who died. And while he's digging the place out, under the dining room table, he finds a motorcycle frame, an engine, and all sorts of parts. And he sells it to his buddy, the drywaller. And the drywaller thinks he's going to put it together and then decides not to, and advertises it on Craigslist. And I bought it as a pile of parts that had been in a front end accident. It had been endoed. The whole triple tree was broken off. The gas tank was smashed on top. The tail fin was wrecked. And the middle exhaust pipe was crunched in. And I didn't really put this all together. It didn't have a title. Nothing ever has a title, it seems, when it's a deal. And I started putting it together. And
Oh God, I know what you got.
so what I got is a bike that was totaled before it was registered. It was totaled before it was ever registered.
Wow.
And all the original parts had been purchased prior and just never assembled. And I put the thing together, and I still hadn't really figured it out as I was I was halfway through it. And one day I'm out in my shop, I've got the frame hanging from the ceiling as I'm working on things. And I had a white t-shirt on, and I rubbed up against the frame, and it didn't even get dirty. And I thought, that's impossible. And I didn't think about it too much more until I finished the motorcycle, and I wrote it, and I wrote it to the Peter Egan thing, the slimy crud we have here in Wisconsin twice a year. And I wrote it for half a summer, and the motor just started getting better and better. And what was happening was I was freeing up a brand new motor that I was breaking in, and I didn't even know it.
Wow.
I have a brand new 1,800 miles on it now, Kawasaki Triple. It's pretty
That's
remarkable.
amazing. And you know, the KH400 or the S3, really very, very nice bike. They're actually, they've got plenty of power. They came in a little bit later. They were a development from the S2, which was the 350. And it's just really pleasant place to be. They're a lovely bike. In fact, I was reminded of KH400s last night. I was sitting watching Turner Classic Movies, and they showed the Gumball Rally. And of course, our hero in the Gumball Rally was riding a KH400.
Nice.
If you haven't seen it, watch it again.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to know what's in Ben's garage, because he's actually in his garage.
I am.
Ben, what you got?
Well,
What's a big
you know,
bike you ride?
first of all, thanks for starting with the guy that's got all the cool stuff. So,
Now, just hold on there, Ben.
you know, let's just start there. So let's just bring the expectations. The expectations gonna have to come down quite a bit.
Okay.
So
As long as the engine sounds
Here you
like
go.
his voice, I'll be okay with
here
it.
you go. There's my daily ride right there.
What?
A bug eye. Yeah, it is. No. Yeah. So I have the big guy, small bike. You don't need to wear high vis. I am very seeable. It's just like a giant dude floating on down the road. Everybody
Well,
sees me.
And
So
that's
you-
fine.
Yeah, so no, I'm rocking the Zuma 125, and then I have the V-Strom 1000 XT.
Okay.
Just
Nice.
just for giggles, just to have something
Good
to get.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
I actually had you down as a Super 10 rider, but a V-Strom 1000, yeah, it's a big adventure bike.
Oh, Ben, you got muted. Hit your button. Yeah, you hit
Yeah, you know, technology, big thumbs.
And I tell you what, mister, coming on here wearing that T-shirt, you've got some balls, my friend.
That's a new Cleveland Motor shirt. I got one too.
That's nice.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Phil and Cleveland Moto, I wouldn't have found you guys. So
Oh, look
You
at
know,
you're
All
kinda
I gotta say
on the
about it,
side.
Cleveland Moto is they are pretty fucking cool. Those
Mhm.
guys are great.
they are
any-
they are pretty
Anytime
cool.
when the Cleveland Moto shows up, the fun begins.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yes.
No.
Philippe and his whole crew are absolute darlings. They really are.
So
Hey, Bagel,
Yeah, so
you remember the strip club?
How could I forget?
and I know you went to the steak. That's what everyone says. They got great steaks there. And Ben, have you been to AMA Vintage Days?
I have not. No.
Why not?
No, I have not. Just I don't ever have time for it. I barely have
Oh.
time to do what I do.
Oh,
Someday,
man.
when I'm old and don't have any more responsibilities at the house, I have lots of plans. And starting with that V-Strom XT right there.
Here's
Does
why.
that mean we're old?
Yeah. Here's why.
No, that
Here's what you will
It's
see:
true.
big men on little bikes.
Right?
Well,
Everyone
I
will
would
look
fit
like
in.
you. The most
No, it's the-
common bike there
yeah.
is the Honda Trail 70.
I have had one of those once or twice in my life. I've had quite a few bikes, and I am always drawn towards the little ones. I've only hurt myself on big ones, so the XT is the newest addition since my last accident. And the wife went ahead and said, "You just go get something, please."
No, that's a very decent bike. I like those new XTs. They look pretty cool too.
Mine's an 18. It's not brand new. Mine's an 18, so good enough.
Yeah, but
18's new to me. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, that's a new
Like, as long
bike.
as it's not a zero in front of it, it's new.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anything-
so yellow wasn't my favorite color, but it was the color that was cheapest. So that is my favorite color.
Good. And Mike, what do you got in your garage?
I trade a lot, but right now I've actually got a GS 1200 GS,
Mhm.
2012, and then a DRZ 400, which is probably one of the bikes I'll keep forever.
Is it an S, an E, an SF?
An S. It's
Okay.
an S. It's a 2000 S. It's rock solid. It's my
Is it
favorite
super
bike.
motoed out, or is it what
No.
kind of tires?
No, it's got I go down to Tellico Plains, and that's a lot of dirt. A lot of dirt
Me
down
and
there.
Emma go to Tellico Plains too. I'm surprised we
Okay.
haven't seen you there.
Oh yeah, well, it's a little further away on the coast, but yeah,
That is true.
it's a good place to ride up in the Smokies, and so
Oh, yeah.
so most of my bikes end up on dirt one way or another, whatever it is.
Cool.
And, so I've got a Moto Guzzi V7
Mhm.
that I ride around with sometimes. So, and I just got rid of. You guys talked about it, so a Ural. I just got rid of one probably earlier this summer. So
So you got it out of your system.
yeah, you own one of those for about a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I took it on a 400-mile trip, and that was it. I was
Yeah.
like, that's enough.
Yeah. That's a long ride for a tractor.
Right. Yeah, and that's what it was. 35 miles an hour uphill, any hill.
Oh man.
So it was quite the trip. So, but it was fun. It was still fun. So,
But you know what does look very alluring? You see some people who are out there doing off-road adventures on the Urals, and like that actually looks like a really fun adventure.
the best I've ever had, the most fun I've ever had was when taking it off road, for sure. I mean, you just and the looks you get, just everybody like looking over their shoulder, like, what are you doing? But it does go anywhere until it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like most motorcycles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question I'd like to pose to the group, and you guys can help us kind of be the brain trust. This is it's a question that's come up a couple times here in the garage. There's been a few times where there's been somebody who's come through who got in accidents a lot. And I'm not talking about Henry. I think he gets in a lot of accidents because he actually rides so much. So just the risk factor goes up. But they're not really good at learning about how to do any maintenance or work. In fact, they don't have any aptitude whatsoever. And I have a question. Do you think that there are some people that just shouldn't be on a motorcycle? And if you know somebody like that, how do you approach that? Have you ever met someone you're like, you really shouldn't be on a motorcycle?
Yes.
Yeah. And what have you experienced?
My son's best friend
Mhm.
loves motorcycles more than anybody. He's 18 years old, and he has exactly what my father said I had: helmet syndrome. Put the helmet on, all your brains leave, go straight downstairs to balls. And every time I see this kid on a motorcycle, I just tell him, dude, you don't need to ride. You're going to kill yourself. You just don't, but he just can't help it. He has the love and the passion for it, but he doesn't have enough brains to not try to kill himself every time he rides it.
What's the saying? If you're going to be stupid, you better be tough.
That's right. I heard that one a lot in my life too.
Yeah, we've had people here, and there's somebody who's, I think, spent a long enough time that I'm not going to say who he is, but there was like, he had one incident. He just kept totaling bikes. One he totaled because he was in a merge lane where the other lane had to merge with you, and he held his ground, and the car next to him never looked over and just merged right into him and pushed him into a guardrail, and he blamed the driver of the car for never looking over and seeing him. And I try to explain, no, as a rider, you're responsible for everyone around you and making sure you're in a position where you're not going to get taken out. So he then replaced that bike, got another one, and then he blew the engine on it because the red light came on, and he just thought that's like a check engine light. You can keep driving your car for another year or two with that check engine light. And he blew the engine up on the freeway when the red light had been on for like 2 days. And then when I told him, what, dude, no, when the red oil light comes on, that means turn off the bike, stop. And he got mad at me and blamed me that I never told him that. And this is somebody with a driver's license and a master's degree. Like, there's some amount of responsibility as a driver and a rider that you need to take. And when somebody can't take responsibility and also doesn't have the, I'd say like the aptitude to have the awareness of his surroundings.
Common sense.
And that common sense, I don't know that you should be riding.
Who doesn't know the meaning of RTFM?
Well, the sad thing is a friend of mine then loaned him a car to drive while his bike was destroyed, and he ran that out of oil too.
Oops.
Well, he's consistent.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But,
I say, well, fuck that guy.
There's someone else who, also, I mean, we've had people by the garage, and not everybody likes to do maintenance, but I think that anyone who rides has some sort of awareness about checking the basics, you know, like, do you have oil in your bike? Do you have brake fluid in your bike? You know, just, do you have adequate tire pressure in your bike? So I'm just wondering, how do you tell somebody like, dude, you shouldn't be riding?
A lot of the time it seems like people check themselves. Like, if you shouldn't be riding, usually you have a bad experience where you're like, I shouldn't be riding.
Yeah.
You know, the people I've met that like, yeah, I rode once and then something fucked up happened. But I don't know. How do you tell someone? I don't know. You just tell them if you love them.
It seems to be a generational thing that a lot of the young people now, like, I'm 53 years old, so I drove cars that you had to check the oil and you had to check the tire pressure and you had to do maintenance on them if you planned on going anywhere. Nowadays, the new cars, you just jump in them and they just take off. You know, there's not as much maintenance required as, say, like an 80s vehicle. And I just don't think the kids now have that built into them like our fathers built it into us, or our people around us built it into us.
Yeah, it's not a given anymore that maintenance is something that you have to do on a regular basis. It's like maintenance has been turned into like a thing that's done less frequently, and usually you have to take it to somebody. It's not something that you can do on your own, you know, for a lot of cars these days. So a lot of younger people just don't even bother to learn and do that.
But I feel as a rider, just like I said, you're responsible for all the cars around you. I think you're also responsible for your bike and making sure that all these things are in proper working order, more so than a car. We don't get in the car and do all that stuff all the time because it's much more forgiving. And you're
I think about this a lot because I do my own maintenance and I'm not the best mechanic in the world. But at the end of the day, when you throw a leg over a bike, you're the one that's going to pay the price if things aren't sorted out. So I think if you're not willing to take the time and do a walk around and, you know, make sure this is tight and everything you worked on yesterday or last night is tight and where it's supposed to be, you pay the price for it. You know, and that's the way I look at it. If you're going to ride a motorcycle, you're the one that pays the price if the bike's sorted out or not.
And
Well-
your family.
Oh,
And-
well said.
Yes.
I didn't even think about that,
Yeah.
but totally right.
And Emma will tell you, I mean, there's a lot of people who rely on, I'll just have, the mechanic fix stuff when I need, and they take it to the shop. But Emma, I'm sure, can tell you that a lot of times when you take it to a shop to have a little stuff done, they may be having, the 17-year-old kid who's working on it. And do you want to trust that they tightened everything, that they
Right.
set things right?
And this is a very, very important point. Shops don't go out of their way to rip you or anybody else off. And I want to make that absolutely clear. But if the lead mechanic is ass deep in an R1 engine rebuild and somebody comes in for an oil change, they're going to put the apprentice on it. And the idea is the apprentice is someone's watching over his or her shoulder all the time and making sure they torque the drain bolt up and torque the oil filter up. But the phone goes or something, or you're distracted, and they may miss that. So just because it's at a shop, there's no guarantee that you'll get the lead tech fix it. So you're absolutely right, Liza.
Yeah. So I just, I don't know. I think it's an awkward position. I think that everyone, we look out for people. I don't
Make
know.
sure they have a lot of gear.
Well, that's what we do. And there were people who came by the garage today. We were able to give out some more gear. So thanks again to people who have donated. The neighbor kid who got a new to him bike this week. And I asked him, I said, so do you have gear? Are you good? He goes, oh yeah, I got my dad's old leather. He handed it down to me. I'm like, oh, cool. And you wear it all the time? He goes, oh yeah. Well, unless I'm just running around town or something, because that leather is too heavy. It's too hot. But otherwise, if I'm going to go do a long ride or something. I said, well, why wouldn't you have something you can throw on? So we went in and he got, just a nice lightweight jacket with all the armor in it. He's like, oh, this is awesome. I'll wear this all the time.
Right.
Yes. I feel like I did good with that one. Well,
Liz,
yes.
we had a similar story. We had a guy at the airport out here who shouldn't have been flying. And he was an ultralight pilot, and he had an ultralight that literally had duct tape holding bits and pieces together.
What
And-
qualifications do you need to fly one of those contraptions?
Well, not very many qualifications.
Yeah.
And so
$50?
I think you have to have a baseball field within distance of your house.
he
There
had
you go.
put it
Yeah.
down in a field a couple times and had emboldened himself apparently. And so he didn't listen because we told him he shouldn't.
Sounds like Liza.
We were forthright about it. And it didn't end well. It ended poorly. And
Oh,
he's
that's a
gone
shame.
now. And we have had a lot of soul searching with a little community of folks at our little airport out here as to what to do next time. Just same thing, how to deal with this. And you can't wait and then decide. You have to get at it. If you know somebody who shouldn't be riding, you have to be frank with them and get some people, have an intervention, do the things you need to do. Because
Are you part of an experimental aircraft club at the airport?
I am. I've built a couple airplanes and
You guys are wackadoos, man. Swear to God. I've been to a couple of those meetings. Me and Liza went, you remember? And
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are nuts. They're like, but we landed. I'm like, oh God.
That's when we met, is it Chip Yeager?
Yes, it was an electric guy.
Who
Wow.
made an electric plane and crashed it. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the
Hey.
problem is you just can't land. You just can't stop and fix it. You're done. If you see a motorcycle have a problem, you just pull over and it's probably going to be okay. If you're in
Hey.
the air, not so much.
We got another Misfit joining us. It's Misfit Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Hey guys, good to see you again. Good to see you
Yeah.
again.
Mike, hello, darling.
Hey, Mike.
Hello.
Remind everyone where you are.
I am in Southeast Missouri.
Missouri.
Right,
Missouri.
Missouri. If you're on my
And
side
the
of the state, it's
barbecue.
Missouri. On the other side is Missouri.
Exactly.
And I also was at an EAA meeting this afternoon. So
What?
yeah. Friends of mine flies an Rand's S6. So yeah.
Wow.
Oh God! I thought you said you were at an AA meeting.
Well, no, that's later. That's later.
So it's or before, yeah.
Right.
I'm sure there's an inextricable link between EA members and AA members. Experimental aircraft will drive you to drink. If
right. No, it's Experimenters Anonymous.
Right.
I like that. That's perfect, Bagel.
Hey, I need everybody's help here. Emma and I are currently in an argument, and I need everyone to weigh in and help us out with this.
All right. We'll settle this.
Do you know where I'm going with this one, Emma?
No.
It has something to do with Pooh Brown.
Pooh Brown.
Oh.
Pooh Brown.
Isn't the color?
So you may recall I have the KZ400 bike that
Darling, it's a KZ 400
that I've been working on that Emma diddled and made it run really good last week. And it's running pretty sound. I put one new tire on this week. I got another one to put on next week and getting it to be roadworthy. And the next thing is start working on the cosmetics and cleaning up some of the aluminum and chrome. But it's pretty clean bike. What do you say, Emma?
It every time I look at that bike, I'm really thrilled by what a delightful little thing it is. And I want you to do it right, which is the reason we're having this conflict right now.
So here's where we're at. The next thing is paint. And it has a pretty nice paint job. It was a good paint job, probably done a few decades ago. And it's not stock in any way. It's just a nice kind of a green. So I want to paint it. Now, Emma's vote is to go for the period correct 1975. It's a Pooh Brown with orange and green accent. What do you guys think of that?
No go. We're going for the next thing.
I actually like that.
Oh,
yeah,
Jim,
thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben.
Have you verified that's the color? I think Emma might just be pulling a fast one on you, wanting you to paint your thing Pooh Brown.
I'm telling you.
It's the 70s. Everything was that color.
All right, Jim, you got to go?
I got to bounce. Yes.
All
I have
right,
to go.
see ya.
All right. Hey, nice seeing everyone tonight. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Jim.
All right,
I decided to go instead with a custom paint job that reflects the era.
That has Pooh Brown in it.
Is it purple?
Pooh Brown. No. So 1975 is the bike. And I went with a paint scheme stolen from another bike that I think is really cool, but a lot of people aren't familiar with. That's because it's from an AMF Harley Davidson. So I'll show you this and just imagine instead of it saying Harley Davidson, it says Kawasaki. So what do you think of that? Black with this really cool pattern that's kind of goes from like white to yellow to orange to red to dark red to Pooh Brown.
It is very 70s, that's for sure.
So you can see it on my t-shirt, can't you?
Yeah.
The Mama Tried logo?
Yeah.
There you go.
Ah,
So what do you guys
awesome.
I think that would look so cool to kind of a little homage to the AMF Harleys, but put it on a Kawasaki. And I think
wouldn't that be an insult to Harleys though? To put it on the
Oh,
Kawasaki?
no.
That would be an insult to the Kawasaki.
Well, hey, both directions, I would say.
Oh God!
The feelings are mutual.
So when you think about it, the AMF Harley Davidsons are the misfits of the Harleys.
Well, this is
And
true.
what better way to represent a misfit bike? So what do you guys think?
I say if you paint it that color, the likelihood of it breaking down just increased by 100%.
He's right. He's right. What he says.
So do I go for
what's
that?
the base color on that?
Black. It would be black.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be awesome.
Or do I go with the brown with orange and green stock?
Pooh Brown.
I don't know. I mean, maybe if you really want to go 70s, maybe you should do like a 3-tone with like avocado, mustard, and poo brown.
I was thinking green.
I think that if it's a coveted motorcycle, you might consider it stock. But a KZ400 isn't a coveted motorcycle. It should be your motorcycle. and
That's
it'd be
exactly the point.
funnest custom.
Yeah.
And I think Emma's point is, whenever you have an opportunity and you have a bike that's that stock, and I would agree, take it to a stock paint job. You will increase the value, right? Rather than decrease. But in this case, because it's a KZ400, it's not that collectible. And even though this is the more collectible of the KZ400, because it has drum brakes, the disc on the front, and kickstart only. So this was like the cheaper version that you could order, but not the common one that everyone was buying.
And incidentally, your bike
Mhm.
was a 6-month production run only. So it really represented the first 6 months of 74. By mid-year 74, they'd already gone to electric start and disc brakes because nobody bought the drum breaker.
Mine's a 75.
Are you planning on keeping this motorcycle, or are you going to try to resell it later?
I plan on keeping every bike I've ever owned, and I've sold every bike I've ever owned. So I don't. But here's the thing: I bought it because this is a bike that I had when I was 22. So this is a nostalgic bike. I wanted to have one around, and I wanted it to represent the garage. If you don't know the story, is that when I was 22, I bought this cheap bike in a neighbor's backyard. Took it to a shop where I had to spend all my money just to get the carbs clean, a new battery, and all that. But then it still needed maintenance. And I met this guy named Jens who was into bikes. And he started having me over to a shop and showing me how to do these things and teaching me how to change my oil and to lube the cables. And he helped me to maintain that bike and make it a better bike. And then when I got another one, I was able to do the work myself. And for me, that was the start of what ultimately became the Recycle Garage, because I always remembered how much that meant to me to have somebody to show me and to help me and to teach me. And I wanted to be able to do that for young riders as well. That's why I started the garage. So this bike is to be an homage to that whole concept and the beginning of the Recycle Garage for me.
What color was your stock one, Liza? Your original one?
It was not stock. It was spray painted black when I got it. Then I spray painted it cadet blue and put lizards on it.
Sounds like you needed a black and blue bike with a lizard on it.
No, and that was, the first bike you ever paint. Have you guys all tried to paint a bike?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I used a roller. You see a roller, yes, get a bit of texture on there.
I say there's two kinds of people. People that paint a bike once and go, forget it, I'm never doing that again. And then the people who go, I learned, I'm going to do it again. And they do it again, and then they never do it again.
Well, you've done it before, and you're going to do this again. And if you do it in the colors you want, it's a passion project. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot more fun when it's driven from passion rather than from the value equation.
Yeah. So we're all in favor now. The AMF Harley, black with orange and brown. Yes. Emma, did you hear that? I got him on.
I'm with Emma. No, but it's your deal.
I'm actually with them as well, but I would say go with what you want. But
Yeah,
I'm biased because I have a
thank
70s
you.
bike.
Yeah, exactly. And look how good, look how beautiful that thing is. Just look at it. It's a masterpiece.
From a distance, yes.
Yeah, no, you see,
Oh my word.
the thing is, Liza, what you should learn from this is you can't bully people to like what you like. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, Liza.
I guess there is the possibility of the not poo brown. So there is a red with black. So
And that's the one I actually like.
red with black and mustard.
Oh, that's sweet.
Interesting.
And incidentally, that wasn't the only color choice. It came in a very, very nice, like dark teal with the black and gold, mustard gold as well.
I want
So
that one.
Yeah, that might be worth
Oh, wait.
considering.
No, I'll have to keep checking. but
Yeah, no, I'll find you a nice paint scheme.
that's not that blue. right?
No, 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 no. You carry on. Carry on with the show, darling. Carry on with
All
the
right.
with the really big shoe.
I really love that AMF paint scheme, but I do want this to be the appropriate bike. And Emma, you keep looking at this bike like it's ice cream. You're like, "Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like it."
No, I absolutely adore it. I think it's a wonder. I've always liked KZ 400s. It's in my opinion, it's the best of the 4-stroke 400s by far. It's light years ahead of the Yamaha XS 400. And, you know, it's a substantially better bike than the Honda 400 Twin. I would argue that it's as good as a 404, but in a different way.
Ooh.
Wow.
I'd agree. I mean, and for most of the bikes, when you and if chime in if anyone wants to comment on this, when you looking at like the bikes of like the 70s, the early 80s, you got the CBs, you got the KZs, you got the GSs, and you got the XSs, right? And I always thought, like, I put them in that order. Like the CBs were the better bikes, hands down. The KZs better than the GSs. I didn't have a lot of luck with GSs. But I think you're right in the KZ 400. I think compared to the CB 400, ooh, I don't know. It's a hard call. But yeah, Emma, we'll keep talking. I'm not opposed to making it a stalker, but that's the question: is whatever money I'm putting into it, I doubt I'll ever get it back, because this is not a highly collectible bike.
Passion projects, you'd never get your money back.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all right. Oh, hang on. Let me try and get some.
Slightly.
Reflections are terrible around here.
All right. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. No, you had it. So it's okay.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, so that's the black with the mustard gold and the blue. Absolutely stock.
Wow.
You know, just a real pleasant. It's
It
just
just
a pleasant bike.
Needs a lizard or two.
Yes.
All right. You know, the funny thing though is I painted the lizards on the side covers, and then I had a rubber suction cup lizard on the top of my helmet.
Just because.
Within your 20s, and I thought I was cool. Well, then I got a letter jacket and I painted a lizard on it too. Yes, which is not the worst paint job I ever did. I once had a GPZ 750 that I painted polka dots.
Oh my.
Yes, there's a picture of that up in the garage. But yeah, people definitely saw you coming. Well, I want to know, what do you guys want to talk about? Who's got a good topic or a question to the group? Okay, crickets. All right. Nothing, really?
Well, okay.
Nothing? Come on.
Okay, I've been goaded into this, so I'm going to make the announcement, and
oh, really? You're doing it?
I'm going to do it right now.
Okay.
And while we've got the guests on the show, I can get some feedback. So, having been in and out of the industry for the best part of 42 years, I'm finally going to make the jump, and I'm going to open my own shop.
Ooh. Wow.
So, my question to everyone, bear in mind, this is not going to be a shop in the conventional sense of a motorcycle shop. It's primarily going to be a workshop. It's going to be part museum, part art space, part interactive experience with a very, very old school motorcycle technician and technology. If anybody would like to share with me what the worst experience they've had at a motorcycle dealer or the best one. So we can dispense with all the crap and make sure we don't go down that route and bring in the things that people really enjoy. I mean, I've got a great idea of this myself and what I'm going to try and aim to do for my clients. But, you know, if anybody wants to share, I'm very receptive to that, because this is going to be a new type of motorcycle shop. I'm going to sell motorbikes, but it's going to be very, very small volume. And the motorbikes I sell are going to be done to a very, very high standard, not necessarily expensive, but they're going to be used bikes that I get in, check over every detail, and sell with a guarantee. I'm going to repair people's bikes. I'm going to do 1, 2, maybe 3 full-scale builds for museums, because I've got so many museum contracts now. And the museum builds would be enough to keep me going. But I think it's my opportunity to make a jump and actually do something for the motorcycle community as well.
I have an idea.
Go on.
You know, many of the co-op garages, they offer classes.
Yes.
Seminar type things where they'll teach you how to do things. Anything from how to change your oil to welding to,
yes,
you know, cleaning a carburetor,
yes,
rebuilding calipers.
Yes.
I think that that's a great idea. Something that the co-op garages have done that would be
and I think that's going to be part of the experience. I'm being very, very careful where I set this up. And whatever town I find myself in, I want the surroundings to be pleasant enough that in the summertime, if I choose to do evening or weekend classes, it's going to be somewhere where people actually want to be. Whether it's a historic district of town or I'm in a historic building. So the surroundings themselves are very inspirational and creative before I even open my gob.
Can we ask what, sorry, and when you, after your comment, I'd like to know what kind of classes people would like her to offer. Do you think would be good to offer? Peter, what were you about to say?
Well, congratulations first. Holy smokes. What a great thing. I think that the biggest service you're going to end up providing is that there is, sort of as was alluded to earlier, there was a generation of us who came up maintaining motorcycles and everything else, because everything we touched needed maintenance in order for it to entertain us day to day. And that has changed. But I think that there is an awful lot of youth coming up that would love to be involved with some of this old stuff. And they can't. If there isn't someone around who can help maintain it, and I'm sure you guys see this in your garage, you can't go to the motorcycle shop these days and get a 1970s whatever taken care of. You get scoffed at. And you have, of course, every opportunity and every ability here to just open doors for folks just by default.
You know, yeah, thank you, Peter. And I actually see this. I see young people with a great amount of passion. And conversely, I see some pretty obscure 1970s and early 80s machinery just languishing in the back of sheds and garages. And it's like a very awkward prom where all the boys are in one corner and all the girls are in the other, and nobody wants to make that leap. And if I can be the facilitator, if I can play Cupid and get this 21-year-old kid on a 1972 Honda CB 350 and just show him the rudimentary of how to get the thing running, you know, that's the start of a movement.
I would first of all, I would also echo Peter's congratulations, Emma, and I would also just in that sort of class-wise. So I actually wrote to you all an email. I am one of those people who has never actually worked on my motorcycle. I've been a tourer.
I was about to read it, Mike.
Well, there you go. Well, you know,
read it.
so I commute. because my motorcycle is my transportation, I've always been hesitant to experiment on it. Right? Like I don't want the thing that I use to get to work to be the thing that I'm going to learn on and break. And so to have somebody who could sit down and just do the absolute basics, like that is a thing that, especially in places like I live in a very small town and we don't have that. So we have a couple shops that are really good with old bikes, but it's just, I've never had the opportunity to learn. And so that would be, I would love to have something like that that would be as simple as here's how you change your oil, because that's a thing I've never had the opportunity to do without work.
No, you have the opportunity.
That is fair. That is fair. I have never taken the opportunity because I'm worried about breaking the thing that I use every day to get to work.
Right.
And a traditional shop will argue that teaching customers to work on their own bikes is the kiss of death, because that's one less customer you get. But this is my advantage, because my motivations are completely different. You know, I'm 60 years old. This is a 10-year project. This is to keep me occupied for the next 10 years till I drop dead at my workbench. So I don't need to make $1 million. I'm not looking to buy my next Bentley. I'm not looking to buy a huge house in suburbia. This is a means of paying the rent on the shop and keeping me in shoes for the next few years. Mm-hmm. So I can offer those classes knowing I won't get the work because I'm not motivated by a huge amount of money. I'm being very careful where I pick, because I've got to try and pick somewhere nice, but with low enough overheads that I can make it worth my while. So right now, my ceiling is about $1,000 a month. And around here, you can usually get commercial space for about $1.50 per square foot. So it's very doable, but it's picking the right spot, because the surroundings themselves have got to be inspirational. Remember, this is an art space as well. It's not just the bikes. There's motorcycle art in there, which I've got a collection of, right down to these dolls behind me, which are genuine Yamaha dolls. So all this stuff is going to be going on display. So it's an installation.
I would like to donate some dildos for the shop.
Very good. Okay, but only the clean ones, darling.
But you know, in his email, Mike actually went further with his question. And he said that he was looking for a cheap older bike to learn to work on. And I think some of the ones you made reference to was something like a Honda Nighthawk or a Harley Sportster. And I think this is a great topic, because this is something we encourage heavily here, is wrenching. And whenever you get an old bike to wrench on, what a lot of people don't realize, half of the work you're going to do is to fix the thing you broke.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. But that is part of it. Learning how to get off a bolt that has been snapped off is something that you have to experience and learn all the different tools and tricks and things. And there's so much you learn from that one snap bolt. Am I right, Emma?
Absolutely. And I'm going to stick my neck out for you, Mike. And Peter's going to nod his head in agreement. If you want to learn about bikes and buy a bike, in effect, to fix up, get an old Brit. And the reason why I say get an old Brit.
No.
They're essentially, they're very, very simple bikes. And every single component, down to the tiniest washer to a giant thing, you can buy.
Okay.
Oh, hold on.
There's
I got one word for you, Emma. Whitworth.
No.
Yeah,
You've gone back too far.
Funnily enough, an old British bike.
You've gone back too far. Funnily enough, the Commando was one of the few that hung on to Whitworth.
Huh.
But if you were to get an early 1970s Bonneville, so let's go for a 72 to 77 Bonneville, which is a T120 or a T140V. You could get into one of those for about 3,000 or 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy everything for that bike.
You can get all the parts and everything.
Every single component for that bike you can buy. And you can spend 10 grand on it and get it all back. Conversely, you can brush paint it flat black, put high bars on it, just get it running so it spews oil everywhere, ride it around, and you'll be still the coolest guy on the block.
And don't forget the lizards.
And don't forget the
All right.
lizards.
I'm
And
gonna
Mike,
make,
I'd like to make a suggestion.
okay, go ahead, Chris.
So as a Sportster rider who has two of them, one with 86,000 miles on it now. The Sportsters are, as I refer to them, 1970s technology. My 06 is carbureted, my 07 is fuel injected, but they're very simple bikes. And what I like about what Harley did, at least in the 2000s, the service manuals are step by step. If you can read line by line, it will walk you through everything. So I did grow up working on cars with my father, but I was there helping him. I wasn't doing it myself. In 2008, just out of warranty, when I had a leaking head gasket, I pulled ahead and replaced the head gasket and made one mistake, but I got it running. And ever since then, I've done my own maintenance, and I've done everything to that bike up to and including pulling the engine out, splitting the cases, replace the bearings in the transmission at 200,000 miles.
Man.
So they're very forgiving bikes to work on, very simple bikes to work on. I just saw today in this area anyway, in PA, an 07, I think it was 883 Sportster for $3,500.
Yeah, and one of the things that in my area, Sportsters are very common. We're in Harley country, and so it's hard to find parts for something else. The other thing I like about what you said, Chris, is the step-by-step piece. Because I'm in a place where I don't have classes available, this would be a thing I would have to be learning from YouTube videos and owner's manuals and that kind of thing. And so I would need something that would be really, and if there's books out there on old British bikes, like that would be great. I just don't know of them, and that's
Okay,
But
you haven't
you
heard
know
you haven't heard my suggestion yet.
Oh God. Oh God.
Here's what I am going to suggest: a smaller displacement bike. In
There
fact,
you go.
like, oh Ben, did you just fall off your chair? Yes. All right. I have here the 1972 to 1977 Honda XL250, a plated street bike, a plated dirt bike. This is the bike we all wanted when we were kids. Come on, face it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a simple bike, simple things. You could tear this motor apart. You can still get parts for everything. And what you have left is a fun little bike that you can take on trails and stuff, hop around town. But you can work on it by yourself. You can pull the engine out of the frame yourself. You can find all the books and everything. And even just getting into learning how to replace the fork seals, or even if you wanted to polish the engine. These are things that you can do, but it's not a far reach for your project.
You can't polish the engine on that bike. It's got very, very porous magnesium alloy engine components, and you have to paint them, because if you polish them, all the oil will come out.
Oof.
But there's a lot of these old 70s dirt bikes that are just fun and simple and just basic components.
And the simple is the thing that I'm looking for. Something that, because this is, the RT would be the transportation, the thing like that. It would be this would really be a process of learning how they put together, how to work on them.
But you know what?
I have a very.
Go ahead,
sorry.
Ben.
Oh no, I was going to say I have a very simple solution here for him. The Honda Trail 90 is the simplest bike.
That was my other one.
And he lives in Missouri. They're everywhere. I've been in Missouri many times. Get yourself a small Trail 90.
Trail 90.
There's nothing that you can't do. 90, 110. Start small.
Okay.
And work your way up to something like that. Very simple bike to work on. There's not a part on there that you can't find. and very simple to make run. And there's
Okay.
about a gazillion YouTube channels.
He's got a good point. And actually, the thing you can do with a bike like this, even if the motor is bad, you can buy a life fan motor with carburetor and electronics for about $350
Huh. And just put it in that.
and put it in. You can
Okay.
buy a 125cc motor.
But you know,
We'll try to-
whatever you choose, buy either a Haynes or a Climber workshop manual. They're
Mhm.
designed for the everyman. They're worded in such a way that they take you through things step by step. You know, I work with the genuine manuals, and the argument against genuine manuals, and people are quite right, is they're written in such a language that you need a qualification in frigging
Understand them.
to just understand what they're saying. A Haynes, which is an English manual, but covers, you know, American and Japanese bikes and model specific, or the Climber, which is the domestic manual. They're worded exactly for people. This is what you need to do, and this is how you're going to achieve it.
Okay.
And, you know, call into your friendly neighborhood Misfits if you get stuck.
Right.
We'll navigate you out of the soup, darling.
I appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I want to know, Peter, what do you think? Because you've done some full restos.
So I like Emma's notion of the British motorcycle because it's as simple as a Briggs and Stratton lawnmower as far as the simplicity by which it's put together. The big thing, though, that I'd encourage Mike to do is just get something. It's so empowering. Learn how to take a wheel on and off. You'll feel like a superhero. Right? Learn how to adjust the chain. And all motorcycles are the same. This is the thing. They're not all the same. But 85, 90% of the whole thing, they're the same. It's the same basic parts, the same tensioners, the same, and just get something that you're not afraid of, not the one you're riding to work every day, and start messing around with it. And if it needs a set of tires, don't go to the shop to get tires. Figure out how to put tires on it. Watch the YouTube videos. They're amazing. Don't get caught up in them. Wait till you need to do it that night, and then go invest 10 minutes in watching a video and get back out in the shop and do it. And as soon as you've discovered you don't have the right tool, get on Amazon, wherever, buy the right tool and do it again. You don't need to do everything. You don't need to worry about, can I rebuild a motor or get the transmission to fit back together?
Just get started.
The basics in place.
Mike, can I get a little personal, Mike?
Please.
Are you married? Are you in a relationship?
Married.
You're married.
Married. Yeah.
And
Married.
remember, he has Ella Fitzgerald, the turtle.
Oh yes, that's right.
Giving us a pink
That's
eye.
right.
Yes.
So, you're happily married, of course.
Very, very. And I'd like to keep it that way.
Okay, good. How long
And
have
it
you been
needs to be
married?
something small you can hide in the closet.
How long have you been married? And say your partner's name.
Lily, and we've been married 12 years.
Okay, honey. And speaking as a woman, if you can understand Lily, you can fix a motorbike.
Fair enough.
That's all you need to know.
Fair
If
enough.
you can stay happily married to a woman for 12 years,
Yes.
and you can understand the complexity of Lily's brain,
Fair,
a motorcycle is a pushover, darling. A pushover.
But
That's all you need to know.
I think,
Fair
though, the thing that you don't know, but that all of us know who've restored bikes, is the project is going to find you. Once you open yourself up and are ready for it, the opportunity is going to show up. It might be a bike in someone's backyard. It might be something you see, you know, at the flea market or a garage sale, or it will be there, right? How many bikes have you guys found, like Peter, Bagel, where just you happen to find it? You were looking for it. It found you.
Yeah. Right. You're at the right place at the right time, and there's a bike that's like, you can't pass it up.
It'll call to you. It'll, Mike, fix me, Mike.
Take me
Fix
home.
me, Mike.
Take me
Yeah,
home.
take me
PB.
home.
Yes.
Of course,
Like, what did you bring home?
Or if it's a Triumph, it'll be, oi, you fucking wanker. You better get me in the back of your fucking truck, you.
That's right.
You know?
Well, now that he's opened himself up to wanting a project too, it'll come along a lot faster that way.
Oh yeah, it's the first. It's the first step, Ben. Step
Oh
one.
yeah, absolutely. Step one.
Especially-
Open yourself up to it.
Yeah.
Especially if you start trawling the Craigslist ads.
And
Yes.
there's been a lot of stuff on there. Like it's just
Right.
it's the hard part is like not knowing anything. I don't even know where to start. And you know
That's the best part.
Yeah,
I'll tell you-
exactly.
I'll tell you where to start. This is what I look for all the time. Type in the keyword project.
Okay.
You are going to find a project bike. This is something that somebody's had. This was a project I got. I never got around to it. Or this is something that I'm halfway through and it's I've got an extra engine in a box and there's like 3 frames and it comes with 4 tires and a helmet. I swear I got my first CB 750, that cafe racer that I built. I got for $100. It was 2 frames, 2 wheels, 3 seats, 4 handlebars, 2 engines, 1 carburetor, and complete parts. It was for $100. They're like, just come clean out our garage, and I put together an entire bike for $100. You look for project is the keyword, and that's when you find somebody who's completely bailed on something or wants to get rid of something, and that is a deal.
Right. I'm picturing.
But don't
like,
fall.
Go
Don't fall for the Craigslist ad. Since it only needs this little thing to fix.
gosh, no.
Or ran when parked.
Ran when parked.
Right.
Yeah, it only needs this little. It only needs the carburetor cleaned, and it'll run.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because on a true project bike, you're going to go through everything. You're going to learn how to do wheel bearings, and you're going to learn how to do carburetors, and you're going to learn how to do everything. And so you go through the entire thing, swing arm bushings, and you're going to rebuild that entire thing. So it doesn't matter really what the condition is.
So we talked earlier about sort of airplanes, and a friend of mine who has built a plane at home, he said basically he built his plane twice, given all the things that he broke. So I'm picturing motorcycles sort of being the same thing, that I'll break something, rebuild it, break it, then put something else on it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember when Jim bought the XL350 project from me. And he was breaking bolts left and right on the thing. And it was so frustrating to him. Do you remember that, Bagel? And
Vaguely,
you kind of, it's an old bike, but you also kind of get that mechanic's touch when you know when to stop forcing something and to try something else, or to apply heat, or to apply oil, or to apply something. But you have to break a bunch of bolts to learn these lessons. So that's why, I mean, it will find you. But I think it's great, and I applaud you that you're ready to learn. And I mean, maybe it'll be a Honda Shadow, or maybe it'll be one of those little Sears mini bikes with a Briggs and Stratton, it can be anything, but each of those you can learn something on.
Cool.
Yeah,
well, thank you all. Yeah.
Just be ready.
No problem. Hey, I got a question for, sorry, Mike, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to say, go from failure to failure with enthusiasm, because you'll have them. And just, but it's the greatest thing. I mean, here, all our shops are booked a month out for anything you want to do. And it's been like that for 8-10 years. So just about everything I've done is, I'm not going to wait a month to get on a bike, right? I'm going to, get some grease and start working at it. And you'll have failures, but it's no big deal. You'll just pick it up, and it's a lot of fun, and keeping them running. And once you get them running, it's amazing. They all stay running then. Once you start the maintenance and you start doing it yourself, you lose all that fear. And I mean, I've pulled up on guys riding dirt, and, they're dejected and sad, and, hey, I've got the tool for that. And you feel, you're confident handing that out, just on a little project. But yeah, you'll have failures. Just be enthusiastic about it, and have 2 bikes.
It's a lot easier.
Good advice.
It's a lot easier to be enthusiastic going from one failure to the next if it's not the bike that you rely on to get to work every day.
Yes, that's.
But
for sure.
Couple of things I'd like to add. There is no feeling in the world like doing 100 miles an hour on an engine you built. Now, you're not going to do that on a CT90, but to experience that, of actually seeing the speedo kiss 100, and you hear this thing underneath you, and you built it. You know, you feel like your heart is going to burst with pride. It's wonderful. But a word of caution with any project bike, there's a tendency amongst certain people who tend to grow beards and photograph their lunch. You know, we know who they are. They wear color coordinated clothes. They're hipsters. And they like to turn everything into a cafe racer, which in itself isn't a problem. But once a motorcycle has had its frame hacksawed up, it can be hard to bring it back. So if you're looking at, by all means, look at projects. But if the frame's been hacked up, generally I'd walk away from it.
Don't start there.
Yeah.
Don't start with a hacked up frame. It's a hard place to come back from.
But
Makes sense.
you know, the other thing that we are overlooking that is one of the best things about starting your maintenance and project bike, tools.
Ooh, tools. We like tools.
Which, by the way, Mike, I just got to ask, before you start your project, do you have a set of vice grips?
Just basic vice grips, yes.
Yeah, throw them away.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yes.
Throw them away.
Yes.
You are not allowed to use them. You have not earned
Fair
that
enough.
yet.
Okay.
But you do get to start buying tools. And you know what else you get to buy when you buy tools?
Tool chest?
Yes. How awesome are those? And this is where Harbor Freight is awesome. They've
Right
got
down the road.
so many toolboxes in different colors, and they've got the ball bearing rollers, and oh, that's so cool, man.
Do they have one in Blue Brown?
Probably.
They might.
Maybe yellow.
But they have them in Chinese red, just like mine right now.
All right.
But tools. Just getting into like Allen wrenches. You know, you got your L, and then you got your socket, and then you get your ball tip, and then like you got your extended, and you got I've got so many different versions of just Allen wrenches.
And your also your advice is very pertinent here, to start with the Harbor Freight tools that are cheap, and then when you break them, then you go to the higher end tool.
Yes.
Makes sense.
It's true. No, you'll get like a set of wrenches. Oh yeah, there's a brother.
There you go, right there, Bagel. Just what you were talking about.
Nice.
You get a set of wrenches, and
that-
maybe it'll come with like a dozen sizes. You're only going to use 2 of them most of the time. Those may be the 2 that you kind of strip and you replace. But the rest of them are there. You don't have to buy expensive 22 millimeter stuff, you know, but it's there when you need it so frequently. So tools, God, we could do a whole podcast on tools, you guys.
Haven't we?
We have. I just remember when I was building up my garage here, that was like my excitement. And like my dad, what do you want for Christmas? Like, oh, okay. You know, I want the ratcheting, offset, metric, you know, wrenches. Like I was just going like the deep dive on all these things. So that is going to be fun. Just throw away the vice grip.
You've just got to decide, Mike. Get your project bike first, and then buy the appropriate tools. There are going to be tools that you use for both of them. Set of hammers, set of screwdrivers, set of pliers, set of mole grips, vice grips. You know, those are universal. If you buy an English bike or a Harley, you're going to want AF tools. If you get a really old British bike or a Norton Commando, you're going to need Whitworth tools. A Japanese bike, of course, or a European bike is going to be metric throughout.
Hey, and I just went on to Craigslist and I typed in project. And look, here's a bike that's pretty cool. This is a, what is this? A 1971 Honda CL 175. And it's got some extra parts. Looks like it's got an extra tank. A lot of times these, when you type in project, they'll come with extra parts. That is a perfect candidate for a frame up restoration.
And it's not been hacked up.
Exactly.
And one of the things I'm hearing is it doesn't matter the quality or condition of the bike if you're going to just kind of learn as you go.
Right, exactly. You
Okay.
can make it as good or as bad as you want, as long as you don't throw a fortune into it.
Did you
And
see how much they're asking for it? $750. We can
Ooh.
probably talk them down to 500.
And that's easy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. And the most important thing is that it is all there.
Mm.
You want it all there.
Conversely, are there certain bikes to avoid because you can't find parts easily?
generally, if you want a project bike, I would avoid Italian stuff.
Okay.
They're quite complex, and Italian parts are tricky to get. Most everything made in Japan since the 1960s is pretty easy to get parts for. Body panels tend to be something of a problem. I know why Peter's Bridgestone's customized like it is, because it's almost impossible to get Bridgestone body parts. And so it is with some of the rarer Hondas or Kawasaki's. It's always the body parts that are going to hold you up. But really, for a fun project bike, that's not going to hurt you too much. The mechanical side of it, you can get most of the stuff. British bikes, we already established, you can get everything.
Okay.
You get absolutely everything. And so it is with American bikes too. You know, Sportsters are kind of built like British bikes anyway. Don't get a fuel injected Sportster, get a carburetted Sportster if you do. And like a British bike, you can get everything, you know. I kind of fancy the idea of an old Sportster, actually. That'd be a fun project. But like a mid-70s AMF Sportster.
That's
and paint it poo brown!
You know what makes a Sportster so good is everybody down the block has one as well. And so you really will find a local community of people that'll help you with that thing.
But the only downside is because it's a Harley, it's got a higher price on it.
Right.
You don't find, you know, an $800 Sportster. You usually don't, unless it's like got a seized engine or something.
Right.
It's hard. It's very hard. You're looking at a couple grand. Their floor for price is still a couple few grand.
Okay.
So that's the difference. So you do have something at risk there.
Whoa! And don't buy a Kickstart Sportster because it will break your knee. You'll end up with Sportster knee. And if you go to any biker meet, where there's, you know, bikers in their 50s and 60s, and you see one hobbling along, and you point at him and say, Sportster knee, and he'll go, yeah, Sportster knee. So don't buy a Kickstart Sportster. It'll fuck up your knee.
And you said carbureted Sportsters as opposed to fuel injected. Why?
Yeah, you know, generally
Learn it.
Learn carburation. It's nowhere near as hard as you think. A carburetor is a very simple mechanical device. Fuel injection is very complex electrical ECUs, potentiometers, throttle body injectors, you know. No, learn carburation. It's the easiest thing in the world.
You want everything mechanical and hydraulical. You don't want any electrical.
Yeah.
That's the
mechanical and hydraulic. Okay.
So there's nothing to carburation. It's like alchemy.
Hey, I got a quick announcement for everyone. I don't know if you guys have gone and got your tickets yet, but our next film festival, the South Jersey Moto Film Festival, is coming up December 4th through 13th. You can go to revsisters.com. That's REV sisters.com. Tickets are free for the first weekend, or if you'd like to have the 10-day viewing pass to give yourself enough time to see all the movies, it's only $10 for 10 days viewing time. What a deal, huh? We had so many people the last time who didn't get to see them all, so we created that extended viewing time. But go to revsisters.com. Really cool films there. In fact, one of them that's featured is called The Badger. And it's this guy who took a bike that he wanted to build to run in different races So like he built this bike and used it in different, like on the track and on the dirt, like flat track and a racetrack, the same bike. So it's pretty cool putting that bike to the test. So go to revsisters.com and get your tickets now. Here's another question. Has anyone here watched Long Way Up?
Not yet.
What is wrong with
Part-
everyone?
I've
Part
been
of it.
busy.
I just I wanted to give them, because they just this weekend they put up the last episode. It's done. It's on Apple TV. For those who don't know, it's Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman, and they're riding the electric live wire motorcycles from the tip of South America, from Ushuaia all the way up to LA. And it's, I mean, any of their adventures they do, it's different. And a lot of people have actually been giving it some negative reviews. They said it wasn't the same as when they did Long Way Around on their GSs and were actually going through like Mongolia, and it was a real adventure. And I disagree. I think taking electric motorcycles through South America, where they don't have the infrastructure to charge them, does give you as many of the obstacles as riding through mud in Mongolia. Trust me. I mean, Bagel knows, he's an electric guy.
It might
presents
not
a
push
whole
you.
different set of challenges.
Yeah, it might not put you in as much immediate danger of losing your life necessarily, but yeah, if you want to keep moving, it's a big challenge.
And it makes you meet people and
Yes.
rely on their offerings to help you. And they find, as they like meet people and like, hey, can I charge up? Then next thing you know, they're in the kitchen and they're having a meal together. It presents a whole nother thing. And yes, these bikes are not bikes that you can buy. These live wires are mixed with the Pan America parts, so they have suspension. And yes, they had issues with them. Bagel, you haven't watched it, but there was
Yeah.
at one point the bike did an automatic update,
Oops.
which wasn't compatible with the batteries and the
Oh
controller.
no.
And
Oh
so
no.
Ewan's bike was completely disabled.
Oh
And the only
no.
solution was to put it on like a boat and get it to the next country, where
Oh,
Harley had to
no.
come down with new batteries and
Oh,
like dismantle the
geez.
whole bike to be able to pull the batteries out and replace them.
Yikes.
So, I mean, that's up there with, this kind of bike failure that they had on Long Way Round, right?
Yeah.
So, and also when they, and this was a bit controversial, when they got through Mexico, they were advised it is not safe to travel through parts of Mexico. So they bought a school bus and converted it with a ramp up the back so the guys could ride during the day, and then they'd load the bikes up and put bunk beds in there, and they could drive in this converted school bus at night and get through these areas that weren't safe. So it had its own kind of dangers. Now, should they have just ridden and made it the true adventure? I don't know. I think they were advised that this was not good. Also, by that point, because they had been traveling, word had been spreading. And there were like other travelers who would like wave them down, like, oh, I heard you were coming through this way. I thought I might see you. Hi. So they were kind of an easy mark by that point. But
Right.
I really enjoyed it, and I thought, it was a good idea to try an electric bike and to take on that challenge. And some people have been asking, why didn't they ride a Zero? Why did they go with the Harley Livewire? It didn't seem like the right choice. But the Harley Livewire at the time was touting the better mileage and capacity in their battery. And we've learned from the bike we've seen here, it's actually not a bad bike. It's actually a pretty good bike. Did it perform as it was promised to? No. Could they have done it on a Zero DS and had been just as successful without having to have a highly modified bike that might have had better support and performance? Yes. But the whole electric motorcycle thing, it's all new. There's still all these new brands coming out. I just learned of a new one. Have you guys heard of Fuel? Fuell?
My brother has a deposit on one.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that the new Eric Buell?
That
product?
is the new Eric Buell project. Eric Buell is now making electric motorcycles, and it's called the Fuel, Fuell.
Because they
Wow.
don't use fuel.
So yeah, that my review is I really enjoyed it. Some other criticism people had is that it was the Ewan show, and that Charlie wasn't featured as much as he was. My take on that is Charlie had a bad accident before this. He had a long recovery. He's not the writer that he used to be. He was a much better writer than Ewan previously, and he was the one who kind of took the lead and charged. I think he's a lot more, a little more timid on the bikes, still capable. But the other thing you got to keep in mind is this is a TV series put out by Apple TV, and they are making a show that will get the biggest audience. Unfortunately, they want their money back. It's not a show for us bikers. It's a show for anyone in the world who wants to see, travel and adventure.
And Ewan McGregor.
So I don't think it was the choice of the team. I think it was the choice of the production company that did that. And that choice was based on getting as many people to watch it as possible. And unfortunately, outside of the UK, Charlie Borman is just not as well known. And I think he was not as charismatic as he's been in the past. And a lot of that may have been something to do with his health not being as good. I think there was pain and stuff. So I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. But the reason I love it the most is that any biker show is going to help biking and introduce more people to biking.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. Be it Chips, be it Long Way Up, or be it, I don't know, what's another?
Orange County Choppers.
Or The World's Fastest Indian, or Orange County Choppers, or any of these movies, TV shows. It all promotes riding, and I'm for that. Simple as that.
Fair enough.
I got one more question to the group. We've got a little bit of time left. I want to know what you guys think 2021 is going to be like for riders, for the motorcycle community. What are you guys predicting? Because as we know, 2020 has been a bitch because of COVID, because of politics, because of all the things, because of the fires, because of the tornadoes. It's been a bitch. But the motorcycle industry did surprisingly well, because it turns out a safe COVID way to go out in the world is on a motorcycle. But here's what I'm seeing: supply and demand.
Yes.
There's a big demand, not a lot of supply. We've seen the price of used bikes go up. We've seen shops running out of new bikes. And I work in the hardware industry, and we're having harder and harder time filling our hardware drawers because we can't get supply. So I'm kind of worried what it's going to look like. So what do you guys think 2021 is going to be like for us bikers? Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
So 2021 is going to be amazing.
Oh, let's hear it.
So
are you the optimistic for everything?
The COVID thing isn't going to disappear overnight. It's not going to happen on this day. It happened to us on a given day, practically. In my case, bizarrely, a week after my daughter got married. I'm maybe the luckiest guy ever to have put that on. But what's going to happen in 2021 is, instead of every day bringing this torrent of bad news, and the bad news is going to continue through the course of this winter and other things, but we're going to start getting good news. Every day is going to be a little bit more freeing, a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. One way or another, we're going to start freeing. And it's going to take a long time. It's going to take another year and a half, I don't know, a couple of years. But it's always going to be good news. It's never going to be, it might be a setback here and there, but we have endured, and we've done a stellar job in just the most intensely horrible thing the world's known in a long time. And for all that has been bad this last year for so many of us, and I am blessed that well, this gets to Mike's thing. I am a project guy. I go to sleep every night excited about what I'm going to try and figure out for the next day. But the news is going to be so good, little by little by little. The next year, 2021, 2022, it's a party we all want to be part of. Every single day is going to be good, and we're desperate to embrace one another. And I think that that's going to be the most healing thing our world has ever seen. It's going to be a new time that's better than anyone we've ever been in. It's going to be fantastic.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, now I'd like to hear from somebody who's in touch with reality. Anyone?
I'm gonna say it's gonna get worse before it gets better. The COVID numbers are spiking up way more dramatically now than they have been to this point, and combined with the fact that it's winter, the number of infections is going to shoot through the roof, and I'm afraid that it's going to take the economy down with it. And I think we're gonna go into 2021 with some serious problems, especially in this country because of how badly COVID is being managed here. But I think around the world, we're going to see similar things as well. A lot of other countries that we rely on for parts and materials for motorcycles are going to be affected. I think it's going to be some unforeseen challenges, or at least some challenges that not a lot of people are talking about. There, and in turn, as far as the motorcycle industry goes, I think that there's still going to be that desire for people to get out and ride because there's just not that much for people to do these days. I think that's what's been keeping the motorcycle industry afloat. The only problem I see is that when the economy crashes, fewer and fewer people are going to have the money to support the industry, and that's going to make things much harder in the long term.
Well, I think you're right too, and I think for the motorcycle community, if we're going to have that big of a downturn, I'm just going to make a recommendation right now that everyone go buy stock in CSC Motors, because California Scooter Company, because I think if there truly is a downturn, I think we're going to see more of the lower price point Chinese and Korean and Taiwanese bikes.
I can't agree with your stock purchase recommendation.
I'm saying people, I think it's going to hurt the high end stuff. Like BMW is going to have a harder time selling yeses, but CSC might be selling some of those, what are they called? The RXs, like $3,500 little 250 adventure bike. I'm just saying we may see a lot more of that.
One of the things, one of the things I'm worried about on sort of the low end is right now, for the last several years, when people get into motorcycling, they buy the little $1,000 or $2,000 old motorcycles that they use for a year or two, and then they move on to something else. Those motorcycles are now $2,000 or $3,000, and there's really not that bottom end things for somebody who's brand new starting out, whether it's high school student, college student, that kind of thing. And so I worry about that, especially combined with the fact that new manufacturing is also behind, because a lot of the factories were either closed or parts were hard to get. Like that, I worry about a little bit of a bubble there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the one thing though, we all have our bikes and we're all going to be able to go out there and ride, and that is COVID safe. But the thing that we are all missing is the rallies, the events, you know, stuff like that. That's the thing that still is hurting, I think, us personally. Yeah, because of social media and the internet, and they're selling parts. That's not a problem. And shops, like Emma's, never going to have a shortage of bikes to work on, right?
Right.
I think that's going to do well. But the whole social aspect is what's getting hurt. And I mean, you can agree or not. I mean, I said Sturgis was going to be a big spreader event. It wasn't traced properly, so you can't actually pinpoint and say it was, except for the fact that that part of the country where a lot of the people came from has had major outbreaks. And I don't know if they got it at Sturgis or if it's just the type of people who would go to Sturgis are the type of people who aren't going to wear a mask, who aren't going to wear a helmet, and they're more likely to catch COVID or die in a motorcycle accident. That's just the odds, right? I mean, I hope so much that AMA Vintage Days is able to happen. I don't yet know how they're going to do these things and make them COVID safe. And as I said, like, I really wanted to go to AMA Vintage Days this year if they had it, but I said, I don't want to go to an event with people who were willing to go to an event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I never belonged to a club that would have me as a member.
Yeah.
well, it's a change. 2021 will be a change from how you've done motorcycling in the past. The AMA are going to be gone, but there's all kinds of opportunities. Like you and Jim did that trip we've heard about that, and that was a good way to travel. I ended up, because my family didn't do a vacation due to COVID, I ended up being able to do a BDR solo safe, and
Nice.
it was, and I also ended up doing that. We have a Smoky Mountain 500. I never did the whole thing in one time, so I took a long 3-day weekend to do that, and I did it with one other friend, and it was COVID safe, and we camped out and had a good time. So there are ways around it. So I think the motorcycle for us may change, pick your poison, but there's always going to be motorcycling to do, and I think people will do it and embrace it. I know when every motorcyclist I passed doing both those was they were really in small groups. They were, for the most part, camping out or in campgrounds, so they had modified their behavior to adjust to COVID, but part of the thing was they were allowed to get this done, or they had the opportunity to take these types of solo vacations that they never would have before. So I think 2021 will be a tight year for everybody, but if you want to plan some trips and do it smart, and it can still be good motorcycling times.
Yeah, adventure riding and dirt riding are bigger than ever now because you're getting away from people. And you know what? I'm going to bring it back around to Mike. I think a great idea is to get a project bike, learn to wrench, and bring a buddy in on it. That can be your socialization. That can be your thing, is to have somebody working with you on that project. It's nice to have someone there. And all you got to do is put some beers in your fridge, Mike.
That's easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Sometimes you need that extra hand, and sometimes you need someone around to shoot the shit, just to be the motivation to get your ass out in the garage working on it. I know up in Portland, Bagel, you have to see if they're still there. There's a group of guys that call themselves the Barrage, Barage, because they had a bar in the garage.
Barrage.
And like every Tuesday night, all the guys would come over and they'd all kind of hang out and wrench on bikes and drink some beers. And like, that was their socialization. So I don't think we're going to have the big events. It's just too hard. But another thing that I'm encouraging people to do, sign up for a class. There's still a lot of these like dirt classes, adventure riding classes. They're small groups. You're wearing gear. It's COVID safe. Go out and become a better rider. This is a great year to do that. Challenge yourself. Become a better wrencher. Take a track day. Do something like that. This is the year to do it. If you ride a Harley, ask your friend if you can ride their Ninja. And if you ride, a DRZ, ask your friend if you can try out their Indian FTR, something like that.
You know what? I'm going to take the bull by the horns right now, and I'm going to offer Emma's very first lesson to everyone right here, right now. And I'm going to teach you all the correct pronunciation for the last letter of the alphabet.
Zed.
Thank you.
T. The last letter in alphabet is T.
Is T?
Alphabet.
Oh, I see what you did there.
And I've got one last thing. This is the other thing. Do any of y'all have a young child in your family, or a young grandchild, nephew, neighbor?
I do.
I've got 5 grandkids.
Okay.
I got the maturity of a
Go
young
out
child.
and buy this right now.
Ooh.
Have you guys seen from Indian Motorcycles? It's called the EFTR Junior. For $750, it's an electric mini FTR. I think
That's
this
pretty
is
cool.
a cool bike, and it's $750, and it's for like an 8 or 10-year-old. Go get
Yeah.
it right now. That I
Teaching
love that they're doing that.
Teach them to
That's
stick
how
a
you
leg
get-
out.
That's how you get kids into riding, right there.
That's
Wow.
cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is on the Indian Motorcycles site. So look up EFTR Junior. It's a good looking bike too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. Oh, monoshock rear suspension, FTR 750 styling. Cool. So
I don't
what you got?
know if you can see that.
Yeah.
That's my
Oh,
two grandbabies on PWs.
There you go.
Nice.
And the PW80 I actually bought for her mother brand new in 1996 and kept it in the garage until one of these little stinkers wanted a motorcycle, so I redid it and gave it to the oldest granddaughter.
Nice.
You know-
Now that's a bike you could put under the dining room.
right. Now, Ben, I don't know whether you're a member of AAA, but this month's AAA magazine actually has the history of the Pee-wee 50. It's a 40-year history, and what an amazing little bike it is, and how so many people got their start on PW50s.
Yeah, I am a member of AAA. I didn't
Well-
know about that. I do have the 50 and the 80, the PW80
Yeah,
also.
well, when
Cool.
you get this month's AAA, when you get this month's AMA magazine, you will see the history of the PB.
Oh,
And-
Wonderful
the
little
AMA
bike.
magazine.
AMA magazine.
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
And that PW50 is the perfect bike for AMA Vintage Days. You can enter it in the pit bike races. Talk about big men on little bikes.
Oh yeah.
It is quite
I've
exciting.
I have tried to ride the 50. It does not. I'm 6'3", 300 pounds. The 50 is a no bueno. The 80, no bueno.
That's
No,
this
you
race
could
car.
wear one on each foot like shoes, and then have like roller skates.
Oh,
I mean, pocket bikes are a thing, right?
They were a thing.
well, hey, I wanted to thank you all for coming in and being stunt misfits. I appreciate
Yeah.
joining us. Just like I appreciate all of our Patreon subscribers. We just had a new one come in today. Thank you very much. And and thanks for everyone for listening and getting us to here. I have an announcement to make. I don't know if you guys know this, but I calculated the last episode of 2020, so December something, the end of December is going to be episode number 400.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I am kind of going big, and for the month of December, I'm trying to get some pretty big guests. I'm talking to some. Nothing is solid yet. I've been talking to a couple AMA Hall of Famers.
Ooh.
We'll see who I can get, but
A
dude,
couple
we
of
have-
other AMA Hall of Famers.
Yes.
Yes.
yes, other. But I mean, God, Bagel, Emma, can you believe we're coming up on 400?
That's
Isn't that
pretty awesome.
amazing?
I know.
So, I think Bagel's a lot longer serving member than me.
Oh yeah.
A bit. It's been almost 7 years now, I think, that I've
And
been.
I think it's probably
hanging out.
6 for me.
Yeah. About that, yeah.
Yeah.
Bagel
Wow.
just showed up on my doorstep one day.
Yeah, all bedraggled and looking lost.
Dragging a scooter.
Yes, dragging a like a little lost lamb.
Yes, yes. Is,
I know.
is this where the wrenching happens?
It's like that ugly old wet cat on your back door that you're like, oh, okay. You can fall for it. You just fall for it. It's just so pitiful. You're like, oh, you're kind of cute. Yeah, that's
See,
our Bagel.
And this is what makes me special. You actually found me. I didn't find you. You came to me.
Yes,
I
this
know.
is true.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining, and for
Yeah, what a
for all
great
y'all
bunch
and
of guests.
for other listeners out there, hey, send us topics, what you want us to talk about. We want to know what you want to know, and maybe we'll have you on to talk about it too. So
And you know, if anybody has any bright ideas for my motorbike shop, you know, send a line. Because you know, this is going to be something for all bikers. And you know, I want it to be a nice destination for people who are traveling. So, you know, just come up with some ideas for me. And if they're great, I'll incorporate them. And if they suck, I will tell you they suck and ridicule you on air.
oh, and I just have to ask, is it okay if we put this video up on YouTube? Are any of you wanted criminals or in the
Witness protection.
protection program? Are you all good?
Not yet.
Not yet, Bagel.
I've been good so far.
It's so far. So here's what we're
I'm
gonna
good.
I think I'm off the list.
do. So we're at the end of the show. I'm about to sign us out, and then everyone's gonna say your names. But here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go in alphabetical order by your first name. I'm gonna give you a second so you can figure out what the order is. Because we always go to shit at this part. So alphabetical order. So here it goes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you to you guys for joining us and to all the misfits out there. I think it's time to get out of here. This is Liza.
Bagel.
Big Ben.
Emma, darling.
Tennessee Mike.
Mike from Missouri.
Pete.
And Chris, she talked over you. Go ahead.
Oh God, I'm
And Chris.
sorry.
Did it again. That's all right. All right. We are out of here.
Cool.
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 Thanks, guys.